Connecting to a remote FastMCP server requires proper authentication, but the client setup is simpler than you might expect. We'll configure a client with bearer token authentication, the standard way to pass credentials to FastMCP servers. You'll see how to specify both the server endpoint and authentication token in just 2 lines of code, using FastMCP's built-in bearerauth helper. This same client configuration works whether your server validates tokens via OAuth2 introspection, Auth0 integration, or simple static verification. Though remember, the actual security validation always happens server-side.
From FastMCP client auth import bearerauth. Client equals client. https://API example com/MCP. Auth equals bearer auth. Your token here.
This demonstrates the client-side authentication pattern using FastMCP's bearerauth provider. The code initializes a client with a static bearer token, establishing a connection to a remote MCP server while keeping authentication configuration separate from connection logic. The pattern follows standard HTTP bearer token conventions, where the client presents a token that the server must independently verify. The approach works by cleanly separating client configuration from server-side verification responsibilities. The bearerauth class simply formats and transmits the token, while actual validation occurs on the server through configurable verifiers like static token verifier for development or introspection token verifier for OAuth2 production environments. This division allows the same client configuration to work across all deployment scenarios, from local testing to production systems with proper token validation. This pattern solves the challenge of consistent client configuration while supporting different security requirements. The client code remains identical whether connecting to a development server using static tokens or a production system with OAuth2 introspection. The trade-off is that production security requires proper server-side configuration, as the client's bearerauth only handles token transmission, not validation or security policy enforcement. Let's break it down line by line.
From FastMCP client auth import bearerauth.
Imports bearerauth, FastMCP's client-side token handler for OAuth2 bearer token authentication. This simple implementation carries the token in the authorization header, while actual validation happens server-side through configured verifiers like introspection token verifier or Auth0 provider. The same client configuration works across all environments, with production security depending entirely on proper server-side token verification.
Client equals client.
This instantiates the FastMCP client with bearer token authentication, setting the base API endpoint and providing the token carrier. The bearerauth class handles the OAuth2 bearer token format for client-server communication, while actual token validation occurs server-side. For production use, the server must implement proper verification, either introspection token verifier for OAuth2 introspection or Auth0 provider for Auth0 integration, as documented in FastMCP's token verification section. This client configuration remains identical regardless of server-side verification method.
https://API example com/MCP.
This is your FastMCP server's base endpoint. The client uses this URL to route all API calls, while authentication happens separately through the bearerauth token carrier. For production use, your server must implement proper token verification, like introspection token verifier or Auth0 provider. Since bearerauth only transports the token, it doesn't validate it.
Auth equals bearerauth. Your token here.
Configures the client with bearer token authentication using FastMCP's bearerauth class, which handles token injection into the authorization header. This client-side configuration remains identical regardless of server-side verification method, whether using Introspection Token Verifier for OAuth2 introspection, Auth0 Provider for Auth0 integration, or Static Token Verifier for development. For production use, ensure the server implements proper token validation as documented in FastMCP's Token Verification Guide. Closes the FastMCP client initialization with base URL and bearer-auth token provider. This client-side configuration works identically whether the server uses Static Token Verifier for development, Introspection Token Verifier for OAuth2 introspection, or Auth0 Provider for Auth0 integration. Actual token validation happens server-side. For production, ensure your server implements proper verification as documented, since bearer-auth only carries the token without validating it. Bearer token transport. The bearer-auth client configuration demonstrates FastMCP's clean separation between token transport and verification, where the client simply carries an opaque token while all validation logic resides server-side. This identical client setup works unchanged whether the server uses Static Token Verifier for development, Introspection Token Verifier for OAuth2 introspection, or Auth0 Provider for production-grade authentication. The token string itself contains no built-in security. It's merely a container that different server configurations interpret according to their verification rules.
The bearer that knows nothing of its burden carries everything.